you know?
I'm going to start recording. It's going to give you a message, just so you know, so we can get the replay going here for people who registered. So we are here with our Thrive After 55 Healthy Knees workshop. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes. I want to let everybody get on here. Hey, Louise. Hey, Toby. Good to see you all. Welcome, Deb. Welcome, Kathy. Welcome, Lynn. Feel free to put your cameras on. We're not going to be showing you, don't worry. It's always good for us to see your faces, though, and make sure that the information is kind of resonating and that you're following along and that it makes sense to you and that we can answer questions as we go. So feel free to have your camera on.
Got
Don't
my
worry,
pen
we
and
won't be
paper, notes.
spotlighting you.
Oh, good
Awesome.
idea.
Awesome. There will be a replay. So anybody who logs on live here and those who were not able to join us live will have the replay. So we're going to be demonstrating some great exercises, giving you some good tips, and there's a little resource guide if you stick around to the end. So we'll make sure that you have all of that. I'm going to start to spotlight myself and Erica if I can. Erica, can I spotlight you too?
I don't know.
I think so. There we go.
Oh,
There
yay.
you go. Yay.
There we go. And we'll give it just like one more minute. I'm going to honor your time. I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I will honor your time. We'll be pretty timely here, but I want to give it one more minute to make sure we have everybody here with us. Hey, Molly, good to see you again. Welcome, Edith. Welcome, Martha. Welcome, Deb. Welcome, Lynn. Whoever I didn't say welcome to, welcome.
And no worries, Selena, you can catch the last 30 minutes or so in your replay.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about having those replays.
Excellent, excellent. All right, well, let's see. I'm going to mute you all. We will welcome questions at the end, or if you have a burning question, you could kind of hit that hand raise thing, or if something's not going the right way, wave and let us know if you can't see the right screen or whatnot. But I'm going to start to share my screen and get us going. So let's see, whoops, I want this one, and then this one, and then I want to move you guys out of the way so I can see and get here. All right, can everybody see my screen? Yeah, awesome. So welcome, 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 welcome. This is our Thrive After 55 Healthy Knees workshop. We're here to share natural ways to help you reduce knee pain and build strong and healthy knees so that you can get out there and enjoy all of life's adventures. I'm Aubrey and I'm here with Erica, who's from my team at Vitality Fitness and Wellness, and we're super excited to welcome you today. So we're going to get started. We want to make sure you're here in the right place, right? So you are here in the right place if you've experienced tight or sore knees, maybe with standing, sitting, or walking. You want to find natural ways to be pain-free and active. Maybe you've noticed a lack of flexibility in your knees, which makes it a little bit harder to do some of your daily activities. You might have noticed some cracking, popping, or noisy knees, and you want to know if that is the right thing for your body, if that's something to be worried about, and what to know about that and that popping and cracking. Maybe you're a regular walker, but you're not quite sure what to do with strength training. You'd like to feel more toned, maybe you're carrying a little extra weight, and maybe as a result, you're experiencing some nagging aches and pains. And you've seen how the generations before you have aged, and you want a different experience. You want to live long, healthy, independent, more vibrant, and engaged life. There we go. In the next night, oops, I missed one. Sorry, I'm going to go back. There it is. In the next 90 minutes, you're going to discover the best exercises you can do to help build strong and healthy and happy knees that'll allow you to enjoy all of life's adventures. We're going to give away the #1 exercise mistake that women and men over 55 are making that is stopping you from feeling strong, confident, and even younger. And I'll reveal the positions that can help you sleep, sit, stand with ease, and other lifestyle tips to help you reduce aches and pains in your knees. In the next 90 minutes, we're going to explore whether making this slip up when it comes to your nutrition, if you're making this slip up when it comes to your nutrition, and how it affects more than just your weight, but also your energy, your strength, and your joints as well. Our promise to you, we are going to show you the exact steps to help you reduce your knee pain, tightness, and soreness, and help you to feel more flexible naturally, help you to enjoy life's adventures without the aches and pains. Here's the deal. Most people over 55 think that aches and pains are an inevitable part of aging and they're doomed to live with pain. It absolutely does not have to be so. Maybe you've been busy caring for children, aging parents, busy with your career, the other demands of life, and your health has come last. It absolutely does not have to be this way. With a strong vision and a belief in what's possible, followed by the right action plan and the support of a mentor, you can feel much, much better. We're actually not here to pitch a sale. We want you to pay attention during this workshop. There's nothing for sale during this workshop. We want to focus in on our time together today. We promise to give you our absolute best. We want you to turn off distractions, put your phones aside. Feel free to take notes. Feel free to have a snack. Feel free to have a drink. We're very casual people, but we do want to give you the best information today. If you stick around until the end, we'll be welcoming more questions. So try to keep your questions to the end if possible. So stick around to the end to ask your questions. If you have to jump off, we absolutely understand. It's a long workshop. There will be a replay. And if you are sticking around until the end, I do have a free resource guide that will have links to a few of the things that we talk about here today, just for your support. So I'll place that link in the file when we get toward the end of our workshop. So does this sound familiar? Your doctor has recommended strength training to build strength, build bone density, and even maintain a healthy weight, but you're just not sure how to get started. Maybe you're confused and overwhelmed by the constant and contradictory information that's been coming at you online. Hop into any Facebook group or any Facebook or social media post and say, I'd like to find ways to relieve my knee pain, and you will get 1,000 different answers, right? So we're here to give you the most research-backed, the most evidence-based, the most practical and helpful information from our years and years and years of helping people to feel stronger and healthier. You don't want to injure yourself. Maybe it's been a long time since you've exercised and you want to find the right ways to exercise without causing yourself pain. Have you ever thought, if I could just be 20 years younger, have a personal chef, wake up with motivation, stick to a diet, and have more discipline, you'd achieve your health and fitness? Everybody does, right? I'm here to say there's absolutely no magic wand. I've said it a time and again, from my years of working in physical therapy to my years of guiding people in personal training through fitness. There's no magic wand. It does take consistency. It does take the right movements to help you to feel your best. So the truth is, once you learn the right mobility and strength exercises, the nutrition swaps, and body-friendly positioning tips, you will have the keys to feel stronger, more mobile, and less aches and pains to enjoy life's adventures. So I'm Aubrey. If you don't know me, some of our members here are online and it's great to see you. So some people do know me, but I'm Aubrey. I'm the owner of Vitality Fitness and Wellness. I started this business 9 years ago after working for years in physical therapy. I wanted to get into the wellness aspect of things and help people to not continually have some of the same aches and pains that were going on, and build more strength and confidence in their body through the right exercises with the right guidance for personal training. So we offer online personal training, virtual personal training, privately, as well as in small groups, as well as balance classes and nutrition support online. So I'm here also with one of my team members, Erica. She's been an amazing team member and part of our sessions. She's been leading workouts with us for almost like 2 years now, right? 2 years, yeah. Crazy pants. So yeah. I wanted to say it hasn't always been like this for me. A lot of people look at me and they think, oh, you're young, you're fit. The things that you're going to tell me absolutely do not apply to me. And that's not true, right? I mean, I am one of those people who exercise was not always something that I loved. I was actually one of those people that skipped high school gym class. It was not my favorite thing. It was actually the most dreaded thing for me. I never had a formal gym membership until later, until I got into fitness. And I've had major surgeries that my body has had to recover from. So anybody can do this. Anybody can do the exercises with the right guidance and feel stronger, healthier, and have more strength in your body. So welcome to our Thrive After 55 Healthy Knees workshop. Erica is going to take it over here with our knee anatomy, and I'm going to get her to unmute. Yeah. Oops, sorry. Did I do it twice?
Okay, can you hear me now? Excellent. Okay, so our knees they take so much stress. They are one of the largest, it is the largest joint in our bodies. And, we've always walking on them, sometimes jumping, there's so many different things that we do every day that is consistently putting stress on them. We have the femur, which is our thigh bone, the tibia and the fibula, which is the tibia is the big bone down the front, or a shin bone. And then the fibula is the little buddy that runs down alongside. And our patella is our kneecap, and that's what sits at the front to protect that joint. And we have our quadriceps, which is the front muscles of our thighs here. And then we have our our hamstrings in the back. And then we also have our bum muscles, the glute max and the glute medius and the adductors. So the adductors are what allow us to bring our knees together. It's about adding to the midline of the body. As well, we also have muscles down into our calves. And when these get really tight, it can actually start to put a lot of stress on the joint, because what happens is those muscles start pulling on the tendons and start pulling on that knee joint in different directions. So they are there to hold us in place. However, when we get imbalances in our muscles, that can put a big strain on it. Quite often, the problems that we have in our knees is actually related to a problem with the mobility in our hips and or our ankles. It can come from the bottom up, it can come from the hip down, or it can be a combination of the two. So our knee, it also allows us to hinge. So it comes forward and backward, and there's just a tiny bit of side to side movement there. And we also have a couple of pieces of cartilage in the inside that help absorb shock. And then there is also what's called a bursa, which is a little fluid filled sac that allows that joint to move smoothly and glide across each other. So that's why we don't get that grinding bone on bone problem. Ideally, unless we end up with something like osteoarthritis, but we will talk about that soon enough. Next. Perfect. So, and as we get older, we start to feel like these aches and pains are inevitable. But as Aubrey has said before, it really doesn't have to be that way. Sometimes it's a matter of getting some stretching. Sometimes it's a matter of mobilizing. Sometimes it's a matter of strengthening. And sometimes it's a matter of all of these things combined. It's so important that we get things moving properly, that we get the strength in there to keep those joints stable. And again, that's when we balance out, we prevent that, for example, the outside here, our IT band, pulling up and ranking on that knee and causing it to come out of place, and again, causing us pain. So some of the common problems that we have is going to be the osteoarthritis, which is the most common with aging. So basically what happens here is over time, we wear down those cartilage pieces and we end up with a bone on bone. So basically what happens is we end up getting tightness, stiffness, soreness. sometimes we can experience some of a crackling. Usually these things can be alleviated just by having a good warm up to get everything moving, and some of the stiffness and discomfort that we experience will get easier. When we get into the tendonitis, the most common is the patellar. So thinking about our patella, that being our kneecap, it basically becomes tender to the touch. So if we've done a lot of jumping or repetitive motions, then this can be a cause, like those step aerobics and things. That will be a cause of that tendonitis flaring up. We feel like a catching, a locking, like our knees are going to give out, and sorry. Gentle stretching and mobility are the right thing for us to do for that tendonitis. You might feel trouble doing a squat or a lunge, or you'll feel a pain when you do anything like that has an impact. For example, if you jump off of a higher surface down onto the ground, that might be it. Or you stumble and you catch yourself in a quick jarring motion, that can be enough to cause that discomfort. So a tear in the bursitis. So the bursitis is when we end up with an inflammation of those little fluid sacs in the knee. And so with this one here, it just takes time to relax, to get that to alleviate. When we get into the meniscus tear, this is a very common thing, but it's not always the source of our pain. So basically, you're going to feel that catching, that locking, the knee will give out. Sometimes you'll hear a loud pop with that. So you kind of like plant and twist the knee and you'll get that kind of a pop. So you might not need to have surgery with this. You'll find that it's hard to get a full extension of that leg. So you'll be able to get out, but you might have like 95% of a straightness. That's one of the symptoms of that. And you will feel stiff in that joint. Then we get into the Baker's cyst, which generally is on the back of the knee. You'll have a swelling, it'll be swollen, tender to the touch, and you will also, again, have that lack of that full extension. Depending on how bad it is, you might need some medical intervention, some medications, but sometimes we can just work on improving the range of motion in that joint to relieve some of that discomfort and, preserve that knee function. So,
sorry.
You're muted.
So
you're muted. I'm not.
Am I still?
Now
am
you're
I still
not.
muted? Oh, okay. No. Okay, so even if you have some of these conditions in your knees, it is still possible to find the right exercises for your knees to help you feel better. So we're going to show you some mobility movements that will help you to ease your tight knees, but I wanted to go over some of the guidelines first. Mobility movements can really be helpful, especially with osteoarthritis, because our knee is one of those joints that has synovial fluid through the joint. And synovial fluid is one of those that kind of, when you're stationary, when you sit for a long time, or you're lying down for a long time, or you're sleeping, the fluid kind of settles, and it's almost like cement, right? Like it gets to the point where your body does not want to move. But once you start moving and you add in a little bit more gentle motion, that synovial fluid will start to bathe the joint and start to ease it up and start to allow more motion and more ease with motion. So I always refer to it as like the oil can from like the Wizard of Oz, getting to those joints. And the more you get into your warm up and the more you get into your mobility movements, the better you will feel. So we're going to talk about some of the guidelines for your mobility movements. When you're doing warm-ups or mobility movements, it's always better to start with a dynamic stretch or a dynamic movement. So you don't want to go into your stretches where you're holding one position for a long time first. You want to go in and out of that stretch. So a lot of times it's kind of like back and forth here on the guidelines for stretching, right? So our stretching now, we want to hold our stretches for a longer hold, a good position, not bouncing in through those. But we're going to save those for after we've done our workouts, right? We're going to go for our dynamic movements and our mobility movements before our workouts, or if we've been sitting or in one position for a longer time. So your dynamic stretches, you'll go in and out of that movement. You'll go back and forth in through that movement. You want to move through a pain-free range of motion. You want to be nice and slow and steady with that movement. You can use your breath to kind of go through those movements. Focus on breathing in through one direction, breathing out through another direction. It doesn't necessarily have to be perfectly timed with the correct in and out. That's fine, just as long as you're focusing on getting some good oxygen to get that good blood flow through your body. And you want to do about 3 to 6 repetitions per side. So it might start to be kind of stiff as you're getting warmed up here, but as you get moving, it should start to feel a little bit more mobile. And then your static stretches, your stationary stretches, you're going to use those at the end of your workout. So Erica's going to show you some dynamic movements as well as some static or stationary stretches, and kind of let you know which are which and what they're good for. So I'm going to make sure that I stop my share and I highlight Erica. Whoops. I'm going to remove my spotlight so you can see her big, and
Everybody can see me and hear me okay? Thumbs up. Beautiful. Okay, so the first one that we're going to look at is a weight shift. So those of you that take classes with me always hear me talking about the triangles in our feet. So thinking about the ball of the big toe, ball of the little toe, ball of the heel, spreading and gripping those toes. That gives us a nice solid base. And then from here, we can just gently shift from the left to the right. So my weight goes over to one side and then back over to the other. And then from here, you can play with actually like lifting a foot and even holding a little bit more. So just those gentle shifts from left to right. From here, you're going to recognize this one, the hip circles. So taking those feet out wide and just going through those gentle movements, and remembering whatever we do to the left, we have to do to the right. So we want to go back and around. If we do 8 one way, we want to do 8 the other way. So this really, again, that's about getting the synovial fluid going through those hips. It's got a little bit of that weight movement, just gets everything lubricated and gets everything starting to move. Then we come into a butt kick. So when we do a butt kick, we activate the back of the thigh here and we open up the front of the thigh. So activating the hamstrings and releasing the quadriceps. So heel to bum, heel to bum, heel to bum, heel to bum. And this is another one that we do consistently as a part of our warm up here. And we get a little bit of that weight transfer. So anybody who spends a lot of time riding a desk, you know, something I encourage people to do is get up every 20 minutes, half hour, set a timer for 20, 30 seconds, and just do a handful of those butt kicks just to get things moving, right? We get the synovial movement through the knees, get that fluid going. And again, opening up through the front and the back. And then from here, we can look at doing a runner's lunge. Now, the depth that you get in this is going to be absolutely dependent on how flexible you are. So let's just start off. Those first ones that we did, those were the dynamic movements. We were moving in and out of them. So when we look at doing a runner stretch, I recommend having something that you can hold on to and be supported. So I would put my foot up here. Now I'm pretty flexible, so keep this in mind as well, please. So thinking here, my foot is planted. I'm thinking about that triangle. My body is squared forward, meaning my shoulders and my hips are in line with that foot and that knee. And maybe I'm putting my hands down here and rocking in a little bit. Maybe I've got my foot a little bit more forward and I'm feeling a little bit more flexible. It's up to you to play around with this to find out what feels right for you. Remembering we want a 4 out of 10 on our discomfort scale, right? We don't want to go beyond that, because as soon as we get beyond that, we start triggering things in our body and our body wants to hold on to it. So as opposed to releasing, we start making things tense up a little bit more for us. So that is our runner stretch. And again, we can do that in that rocking in and out to release, or you can come in after our workout and hold that, really sink into it, squeezing the tush. You're going to get that opening through the front of the hip here and opening up through the glute, the bum, and the back, or on the upper leg. Now, this next one here is absolutely one of my favorites. So this is a quad stretch. Again, this is the front of our thighs. I love to do this one on a chair because we are supported. We can also do this on the floor, and I will show that to you in just a moment. So if I turn sideways and my thigh is supported by the chair, and then my knee comes down, we always want to think in terms of shoulders, ribs, hips, knee. So we're going to do a little bit of a tuck under of the tush, and we're going to squeeze that tush. I like to be up on my toes and push my heel back. But again, it's up to you to find out where you are at and go to that 4 out of 10 in your discomfort, not pushing past that. Shoulders, ribs, hitch, squeezing the tush. Sorry, my watch is talking to me. Squeezing the tush, opening up here. And then as well, you can hold on to the chair here, making you feel supported, and then going over to the other side. If it's comfortable for you, then you can leave your toes down. If possible, thinking about planting the toes in here and pushing the heel back. This way we start to open up the bottom of the foot as well. And we think about just opening up that whole line on our body. If I was doing this on the floor, I would be doing, actually, yes, shoulders, ribs, hips, tucking that tush under, giving a nice squeeze. Again, going to that 4 out of 10. And if it feels good for you, you can also think about one arm up and over, squeezing the tush and looking up. So again, we've got that nice tall stacked shoulders, ribs, hips. We always want to think about being in the tallest posture that we can. Also understanding we don't want to push into that posture, putting us into a very uncomfortable position. Your posture will improve as your mobility improves and as you open up your body a little bit more. The next one we're going to do is one of my absolute favorites. This gets into more of the ankle. So here, toes up on the wall. This is going to be a static stretch. Of course, we could also do this dynamic by moving in and out. Toes are up. So I'm thinking about the 2 front points of my triangle. My body is squared forward and my heel is as close to the wall as I possibly can. I'm going to push off with my back foot. Body's tall, thinking about belly button or hips to the wall. Again, if I needed to, I could do this in a dynamic movement. If I was going for a walk, I would do this beforehand. And then when I come back, I would hold that. So this brings the stretch in the back of the calf up and towards the back of the knee. If I come here and then I push my knee forward, making sure that my knee stays in line with my toes. It's okay if the knee comes forward. We just don't want to be inside or outside of that joint. You're going to feel that stretch come down into the ankle, and thus we're going to be improving the mobility in that ankle joint. So again, toes up, square the body, pushing the hip or the pelvis, belly button forward, stretch into the back of the calf, back it up, pushing the knee forward, again, making sure that we line up with the toes. Super important with anything and everything that we do, that we keep our knees in line with our toes. Again, it's okay if it comes forward. It's just not okay if we are inside or outside of that joint. So that is our standing. Then we're going to come into a seated position here. And we're going to look at doing some heel slides. So sitting up nice and tall, I always like to think about my cheeks forward on the chair and my thighs are off. The more forward that we sit, the more it's going to make us sit up taller. It's harder for us to slouch in this position. And from here, you can either just slide your toes out. So we're looking at the lengthening of the leg and then pulling in. What's also important to do is to try to activate or think about these lower abdominal muscles. So we're not always recruiting the front of the hip here or our hip flexors. You can also look at pulling your toe and extending out that way. Again, it's up to you to play around with how you are feeling in this position. Maybe you're going to start off with the toes flat, and then from there, you're going to go to long leg. And then from here, we can come into a leg kick out, and understanding, again, we all have different levels. So we might kick out and we might have our leg low, or we might kick out and bring our leg up completely straight in line with that hip. So it's up to you to play around with that. When we get that extension, we get this nice activation of the thigh here. I like to think about pulling my toes towards me and pushing that heel forward. Again, it's going to do more of an activation in the top of the thigh here in our quadriceps, and then bending it back down. Pull back a little bit further, you're going to get an activation in the back of the thigh or the hamstrings. So that extend and bend, sitting up tall, and again, feeling your bellies activate throughout this, holding that tall posture. So from here, we're going to look at doing a hip fallout and just thinking about if you were opening up a book, allowing that to fall open, noticing that I'm falling out on the outside of that foot. And then from here, I'm going to pull my tummy in and bring it up. So we, in turn, we're going to inhale and then exhale. We're going to pull and bring that thigh towards the midline of the body. And from here, we're going to look at a hamstring stretch. So from here, heel down, toes up. And again, we all have different things that are going on in our body. So it's important for us to play around with this and what feels good for you, finding that 4 out of 10 for your discomfort. I always say, keep your hands on your bent knee. We don't want to put any pressure on this extended leg. Why? We only get one set of joints without major surgery. Let's not add any stress to it. So hands down, my toes pull towards me, my heel is forward, and I'm going to lean forward. And again, it might be a case of focusing on pulling up on that big toe a little bit more. Might be a case of focusing on the push forward with the heel. And I like to think about pulling this thigh bone, our femur, back into the hip. And then this way, my hips are square, my shoulders are in line with my knee here. And if we were doing a dynamic, we would inhale, exhale, lean forward, inhale, come up. Or if we were finished our workout, heel down, toes up, leaning into it, again, pushing that heel forward, pulling the toes towards me and playing around with it to where I need to find that stretch in my body, because we all have different parts of our bodies that are pulling on it in different ways. So from here, we're going to come into the piriformis, which is a little muscle in our butt cheek here. And this one here can be a real son of a gun for us. So we would look at coming into a crossed leg position. So my ankle is on the outside of my knee and back from my knee. There is no pressure on this joint and there is no pressure on this joint. And if I choose to press down a little bit to open up through the front of the hip here, then I'm not putting any pressure there. Here, we're going to come into the side. So we're going to pull that knee across and you should feel it open up through the side here. Now, not everybody has a lot of flexibility with this, but it's just a matter, again, for you to play around with and find what feels good for you. You can also do a gentle press out. My hand is at the top of my shin, the base of my thigh, and do that little bit of a lean forward. And again, you're going to feel it opening up through the side of that hip. In turn, the piriformis, that little son of a gun that runs underneath those glute muscles. And these are easier for us to do in a laid down position than they are to do in a seated position. You're going to find, just like those hip fallouts, you're going to find it's easier to do it there. Not everybody is in a position where they're going to be able to do it at that time, but it's something that you can think about doing in the morning when you're starting your day and laying on the bed if getting up and down from the floor is not possible for you. We're going to look a little bit at the toes and ankle mobility. So pulling your toes up towards your shin, this works our tibialis anterior. It's this little muscle that runs along the front of our shin bone here. So pulling those toes up. As we get older, quite often we lose the ability to pull our toes up towards our shin. And it's one of the #1 reasons why people fall. They can't lift their toes and they literally trip over their own toes. So doing those toe raises, doing them both at the same or alternating or doing one side and then the other side. We can also work on the mobility of our ankles by lift and shift them open. Notice that my knees follow my toes, knees follow my toes, knees follow my toes, knees follow my toes, bringing them back in. This also works a little bit of the internal and external rotation of the hips, which we can do falling in this way. This is our internal rotation, and I will show you these in a laying down position as well. And we already did that external with that fall open. From here, I'm going to lay down and show you our heel slides. So with this one here, again, you can do this on the bed or you can do it on the floor. So you're going to lay down, and I want you to think about pulling your belly button in, pressing your back into the floor and holding this stable. The whole point here is we want to hold our core stable and allow our legs and arms to move around it. The stronger our core is, the better overall that we are going to be. When I'm doing a heel slide, I'm going to lift the toes of the one leg. I'm going to hold my tummy in tight, and I'm going to extend that leg out. Extend, extend. Now, if I reach this point here and I feel that I need to arch my back, that would be the end of my range of motion for now. But otherwise, we're going to go out as long as we can. And then we're going to inhale, pull it back in. So exhale, sliding, pushing that heel out. Should be smoother. I apologize. My running shoes are not allowing for the fluidity of movement. And then we're going to think about pulling up on those lower bellies here. So again, we're activating the lower part of our core, and we're not just beating the bananas out of our hip flexors, the front of the hips. Because that's one thing that I consistently hear people, and it's no, we need to recruit the belly, making sure that that's where it's coming from. And the whole point of this as well is we're working on that full extension of the leg. And then we are fallouts. So from here, my knees are together, my feet are together. One knee falls open, and then exhale, pulling up towards the midline here. Inhale, fall open on the other side. Exhale, pulling up in here. Inhaling, open, and exhaling, pulling up. You can alternate, or you could do 10 or 12 on one side and then do 10 or 12 on the other side. And then from here, we'll look at those rotations as well. If we're bending inwards, so you get this nice stretch on the outside of the hip here. You get that nice gentle stretch through the front of the thigh. So what we're doing here is we're alleviating any of the muscles that may be pulling on that knee. Bring it up. And then again, we're going to fall in, feeling that stretch coming on the outside here and pulling it up, making sure that these movements are coming from the tummy. It's not just all about moving the hips there. And so you can see here how we get a much better range of motion when we're on the floor than we do when we are in a seated position. So again, overall, this is all about improving the mobility of these joints to release those muscles that might be pulling on the knee, and all as well strengthening our cores, which again is going to be it's our core, it's our base, it is what holds everything together.
Thank you, Erica. I'm going to share my screen again so I can get back to our slides. Oops, got to move this. Sorry. There we go. Okay, you can see my screen. Yeah, awesome. All right, so this was a little, oops, sorry. Thank you. That's always like 12 things at a time. There we go. I'm going to move you guys. There we go, so I can see. So this was a list of the exercises that Erica demonstrated for us. If you want to jot any of them down or take a little screenshot or whatever works for you, we wanted to show you some good mobility movements that you could get in that will help to loosen up the joint, but also help to loosen up the muscles that surround the joint. So I hope you kind of understand that it's not just the knee that plays a part in knee pain. Sometimes it's tightness in the hip, sometimes it's tightness in the calf that makes a little bit more of a challenge for those areas. So we need to loosen up the right muscles surrounding the joint and then also loosen up the joint itself. So through some of those mobility movements. So I'm gonna move on if we're okay. Yeah, everybody got their screenshot if you wanted it. Excellent. And I wanted to highlight a few of our members who a lot of people tell me, you know, they reach out to me and they're like, I don't even know if I can exercise because I have knee pain. And so I wanted to highlight just a few of our members who are really rocking it, even though they had struggled with knee pain. So Gail, or Gila, known as both, she reached out to us. She was struggling with bad knees. She wanted to feel stronger. She wasn't even sure she could exercise when she had these bad knees. She thought they were so bad that, you know, any exercise would flare her up aside from walking. And so we've been working with Gila for a while now. She joined one of our 12-week programs, our last 12-week program, and we're midway through our next 12-week program. She's celebrating almost 50 workouts with us, and you can see what Gila has said here. She really appreciates the attention, and the modifications. We give exercises that are right for her body, right? So not every exercise is right for every person's body, but when you're working with a coach or a mentor in your corner, we can give you the right movement so that you can feel good and that you can get that mobility and strength and feel so much better in through your body. So the next thing we wanted to talk about is strength training. Strength training is absolutely a must. As we age, starting in our 30s, we start to lose muscle mass in the natural process of aging. You can lose up to 5% of muscle mass per decade if you're not adding in regular strength training. So this is not just walking. You need to actually do some resistance training using weights, resistance bands, or your body weight for strengthening exercises for your joints. And when you do so, it takes pressure off of your joints, helps to build those muscles, build the good stability, and takes pressure off of your joints. So we need more than walking. Strength training helps to build our muscles. It helps to protect our joints. It can help to build bone density, and it can even help to boost metabolism. I often like to share this information because so many people think, oh, I'm out of shape. I need to lose some weight. I need to feel better about my body. I just better hop on the treadmill, or I better do something on the elliptical or whatnot. They think of cardio right away. But actually, our body burns more calories through strength training than it does in cardio. So it can be a really effective way to manage and maintain a healthy weight. If you're thinking about starting an exercise, or you want to kind of get into a healthy metabolism, boost your metabolism, which is something that people tell me all the time, especially women over 50, it's really, really important to add strength training. So I'm going to go through the guidelines here, and then Erica will demonstrate some good strength training exercises that will help you feel stronger with your knees. So when you go for strength training, oh, I want to make sure I didn't miss a question. Somebody who's had a knee replacement. Yes, we have, oops, sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. Hang on, back we go. Oops, come on, go back. Go back. There we go. All right. Sorry. So yes, even if you've had a joint replacement, even if you've had a meniscus surgery, even if you've had a motorcycle accident when you were in your 20s, like I've helped people with all of these stories, all of these things. We can absolutely help you find the right exercises for your body. It's so, so important. And you can build strength. You can build mobility. You can build flexibility. You can do that even if you've had a joint replacement. Even if you need a joint replacement, it's good to get in through these exercises. Yeah, so strength training guidelines, we want to make sure we are exercising 3 times a week. It's a good idea. If you're just starting, go ahead and start with 2, just ease your way in, but 3 times a week is an ideal time for strength training. You want to do 8 to 15 repetitions with about 2 to 3 sets of each exercise. So we often in our programs kind of do it in more of like a circuit, where we'll do one exercise for one part of our body, another exercise for a different part of our body, and then maybe return to that other exercise that was for our first part of our body. So you can do a few exercises in a row that are focused on the same area, or you can kind of rotate it through and give your certain parts of your body area rest, and then kind of go back to it and get to your next set. So you're going to go for about 8 to 15 repetitions. You want to use a weight that feels like a good challenge by the last few repetitions. You want to still be able to maintain your proper technique, but you do want to feel a challenge by those last few reps. If you can build through or burn through, I'm just like pretending with a bicep curl here, which I know has nothing to do with your knees, but it's always a simple example. If you can burn through and do many, many, many reps, you need to use a heavier weight. You're not doing enough weight that's going to make the change in your muscles that you need. Long are the days where before we thought of light weights and more reps, we actually, as we age, we need to do a little bit heavier weights and less repetitions to build muscle to protect our joints. You want to make sure you're never exercising through pain, that you find the right technique, you find the right exercise, you change the technique, you change the exercise so that you are getting that pain-free range of motion in your exercise. You want to focus on your technique versus speed. Sometimes I see people thinking like, oh, I've got to burn calories, and they are like really moving through their movements very fast. Not cool. You want to make sure you've got the stability, you've got the motion down first. You can always add in power, you can always add in speed later on, but focus on getting that good resistance first and that good technique first. And then something that people often ask me, or I have to kind of debunk this myth, is that oftentimes people tell me, my doctor said I'm not allowed to squat or lunge. And I would ask you, how are you getting up from a chair? If you are actually rising and sitting down from a chair, you can squat. That is a squatting motion. It's just using it in the right technique. So there are absolutely certain lunges and certain movements that are not good for your knees. You know, forward lunges are going to put a lot more pressure on your knees than reverse lunges. Reverse lunges are going to be much safer for your knees, and that's why we start with those kind of motions, even if it's not a full lunge first in our programs, because we want to make sure you're getting the right movement without pressure on your knees. And then squatting is something that you can do if you have the right technique. A lot of people are doing it incorrectly. They're putting a lot of forward pressure straight down on their knees instead of sitting back like they were about to sit in a chair. So there's absolutely strength training exercises that you can do, even if your doctor has mentioned that you need some modifications or some certain movements to avoid. I'm trying to get Erica back on Spotlight. Sorry, hang on. Whoops, sorry. Back we go. And stop share. This is always the annoying part of the presentation. Sorry. Remove spotlight. There she is. Everybody sees
Yay.
Erica. Yeah, excellent.
Everybody can hear me okay? Beautiful. So we're going to start off thinking about our sit to stands, right? And so for those of you that are members, you know this is a part of our benchmark testing. So again, I like to think about sitting a little bit forward, and we want to think about our knees being towards that 90 degrees. This means that I can look down, I can see my feet there, I can see my toes past my knees. And so again, just taking that nice deep breath in, we always want to exhale on the hard part, exhale on the exertion. So from here, I'm going to push through my heels and I'm going to stand up tall. Inhale, sit back down. Exhale, push through those heels and stand tall. When we push through the heels, we're going to activate those booties. Now, if you're feeling you want to do something a little bit more challenging, you can even think about putting 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. And from there, push through that heel and then inhale, come back down. So it's going towards those single leg type movements just to make it a little bit more challenging. So when we are thinking about doing our squats, we want to be just slightly wider than our hip width apart. Our toes can be slightly turned out. There is no exact cookie cutter because everybody's hips are built slightly differently. So we need to, again, pay attention to our bodies and find what feels right for us. We do have to make sure that our knees stay in line with the toes. Again, it's okay if they come forward of the toes. We just don't want them inside or outside. So from here, a nice deep breath in, I'm going to push through my heels, sit back as if I'm sitting through a chair. I'm going to feel my legs fire and then push through those heels, come tall, and that fires up those glutes, our bums. So that split stance was something that I had sort of started to talk about there with 1 foot forward, 1 foot back in those sit to stands. Or you can think about doing 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. Again, connecting with the triangle, and then inhale down, exhale, pushing through that heel, making sure that we really focus on keeping that body squared forward. The other thing that's important to remember is that we are on train tracks. We are not on a tightrope. If you're feeling wonky and out of balance with this, make your base a little bit wider, square this forward, and inhale down, exhale, push up through that heel. thinking about those triangles in your feet, because when you have that nice connection through the triangle and the toes are pressed down, you're going to have a better even activation of that thigh and push through the heels. So that is where we are with our split stance. And again, we can use as much support as we need. What I like to do is if my inside leg is back, then from here, I'm using a chair, I'm using the wall. In this case, I'm using the banister. So this is going to help me be supported. You can use something like this even in doing those squats. Okay. The more support that you have, the better it will be, the better your activation will be. And then you can slowly remove those supports. It's all about being as safe as you can. We always want you to push your comfort zones, but never pushing those safety zones. So from here, we're going to start looking at hinges. So hinges, deadlifts, this is, just going to drop this down slightly so you all can see. Perfect. So I take a little bit of a step forward here, heels to the wall, slight step forward. And then I think about taking my pinkies here. I'm going to karate chop my hips and send my hips back. I'm not so much bending my knees, I'm just softening my knees, sending those hips back. And inhaling down, I'm connected with my triangles, exhaling, pushing through the heels. And the stronger that you get, the more confident that you are with this, you can push back a little bit further and coming into a deeper hinge. Again, it's up to you to play around with it and find what you need to be safe and supported. But that, I love that. I think, can Erica do an example? Another example of the hinge. My feet that hip width apart, tummy's in, and then that karate chop, sending my cheeks back, keeping my back nice and flat, pushing through the heels and come up. I'll come back to that one after. And then from here, we're going to look at doing a step down. So I'm going to use the stairs here because this is what I have. I have my one foot is really connected. Again, I'm going to use this for support as much as I need to. Bringing my other foot a little bit forward and I've got my toes lifted. And then gently, I'm going to lower myself down. And the depth that you go to is entirely dependent on how you are feeling. Is this causing any kind of a discomfort? You know, you might be going down just an inch or two to start, or you can go down, 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 rest the foot, and then push through the heel to come back up. Those gentle step downs. It's all about being slow and control and keeping that knee in line with your toes. So that is our step down. From here, we can look at doing a star touch. So I'm connected with my triangle, and this is getting in towards those single leg stances. Whenever we are standing, whatever we are doing, we always want to keep a little bit of a bounce in our knees. We don't want to lock them out. When we start to do that, it puts so much pressure on it. It's going to really start to wear away at those cushions that we have in our knees. So connected with my triangle, this way I've got a balanced activation through, tummy's in, body's nice and tall. So from here, I'm going to think about touching forward, bring it in, touching out, bring it in, touching out, bring it in. So I am working all kinds of stabilizers in this leg. I'm challenging my balance, I'm challenging my core, and just going through these little touch outs back. And whatever we do to the one side, we need to make sure we do to the other. Connect with the triangle, knee is soft, tummy is in, body is as tall as I can be, and touch, in, touch, in, touch, in, touch, in, touch, in, and then working your way back around. And again, if you need to, have your hand on a chair just to give you that extra little bit of support. Then we can look at doing our tib raises. So again, this is the tibialis anterior muscle across the front. You can look at doing it just standing, doing those toe raises, or again, drop this down slightly for you. My back is up against the wall, my tummy is in. The farther away you are, the more challenging it is, but I'm going to brace my tummy. And again, you can do one, or lifting both of them. Lifting both of them. We're strengthening across the front. If the back of our calves are super tight and this is super weak, that again can be one of the stressors. So by doing those activations of the front of the thigh by keeping the tummy in nice and tight. That just helps to balance out those lower leg muscles. And again, ideally take some of the strain off those knees, depending on what the challenges are that you are experiencing. So from here, we're going to go down to the floor and we're going to look at doing some bridges. Now you can do these on their own, or you can do them by adding a band. I'm going to demo without the band. Laying down here. So the closer we bring our heels to our bum, the more strain it's going to put on our knees. So from here, you want to think about having those heels almost below your knees. You can be a little bit wider, that's okay. And again, we want to think about those triangles. I cannot stress this enough because it really makes a huge difference on how everything is going to activate. I'm connected with my triangles, my tummy is, and I'm thinking about my back as one full unit. And pressing up into my bridge, inhale down, pushing through those heels. If I bring my feet out too far and I come into my bridges, super hard on those hamstrings, the backs of the thighs. So we really want to focus on building up the strength in those glutes. Exhaling up, inhaling down. And as we get better with this, then we can look at doing, say, a single leg, where one foot comes up, pushing through that heel, inhaling down. Then we're going to look at doing a clamshell. So with the clamshell, you see sometimes these videos and people are all propped up like this. We really want to think about keeping our body in balance. So from here, I'm going to use my bicep as a pillow. Now, my knees are not up at hip height and they're not down in line. So we want to think about 45 degrees. Everything is stacked, hips, knees, and ankles. Place your hand on your cheek here. And the reason for this is this is going to help put your brain into the muscle that we are working. The other thing that's really important to think about is keeping the whole body stable. I mentioned this before about keeping the body nice and stable and the arms and the legs move around that. Super important. So from here, we're going to open up with my hand on that cheek. My brain says, these are the muscles that I want to be doing this work here. So exhaling up, maybe hold it for a moment or two, and then inhaling down. There's all kinds of different progressions that we can do. And same thing with doing those bridges. It's all about getting comfortable with that, making sure that we're activating the right muscles. And then from there, we can play with those openings and holdings. And again, we can look at putting on a band around our thighs as a progression. Not my favorite band to do lower body with, but you get the idea here, because then we end up with some resistance. We're focusing on keeping the tummy nice and stable, and we're focusing on the opening up here. So those are our clams and our bridges. And again, this is all about us building that stability. It's about making those muscles stronger to balance out how our body is going to respond to everything. And then
thank you, Erica. I'm going to start to share my screen here again, get us set back to our slides, move you guys again. There we go. So this is a little snapshot of, everybody sees my screen? Did I share? Yeah, we're good. And add my spotlight. Good. Okay, so this is a little snapshot of some of the exercises that we did. If you want to screenshot or make any notes or write down any of the exercises that we did today or Erica demonstrated today, we gave you a lot of options. These exercises are going to focus on building your glute muscles. They're going to help build your quad muscles. They're going to help build the muscles in your outer hips and the front of your lower calf. You want to make sure that all of those muscles are really strong to help you have more stability in your knees and in your lower body and take pressure off the joints in your knees. So We had some questions in the chat. Are these exercises safe for people to do with joint replacements? Are they safe for people to do with osteoporosis? Yes. All the exercises that we do are going to help you. We keep a very neutral spine in our exercises that we demonstrate in our programs and online here today. So they are safe for you. These are also weight-bearing exercises. So they're really great exercises if you have osteoporosis as well. And then we had some questions about, I want to be able to get up and down from the floor. We hear this very often. I want to be able to get up and down the stairs. We hear this very often, that people struggle with those activities, especially if they've had pain in their knees or joint replacement or something like that. And all of these exercises will help that. You can start with like your bridges and your clams and build stability from there. You can work into your sit to stand exercise. Make sure you kind of then progress into your squat exercise. Those hinges will help you, and then the step downs will help as well. You want to be moving through pain-free range of motion, as we said. So in the comments, somebody said this one bothered me, then take it back a step, right? Take it back to your bridges, take it back to your clams, take it back to your sit to stand. You're going to build stability through those muscles and through those exercises first, and then you can work your way up to some of the other exercises. So I wanted to give a little quick note about closed chain versus open chain exercises. So what on earth does this mean? I don't often speak like technical jargon to people, but this is something that's really important to understand. Closed chain exercises are exercises when your body has an anchor point through the ground. So something like the bridges, something like squats, something like step-ups, something like the hinges. Those are exercises that we demonstrated that are closed chain exercises. Part of your body is kind of anchored through the ground. These exercises are much more effective than an open chain exercise. An open chain Crystal mentioned the leg press machine at the gym, closed chain exercise, incredibly functional, really good exercise. Open chain exercises are when your leg is not connected with an anchor point. So maybe one of those kick out motions. Those are better for your mobility, right? It's much better to do these kind of exercises versus maybe sitting on the machine at the gym and doing that kick out motion against that leg extension machine, or even the hamstring curl machine where you're over there and you're bending your knee. It's actually much, much better to do these closed chain exercises. You're going to be using a co-contraction of multiple muscles at the same time, and they're much more functional. So they're going to help you get into getting up and down from the floor much easier, or getting up and down the stairs much easier. So these are much more functional and much more effective exercises than your open chain exercises. You may have seen like on Instagram or in a random YouTube video or something of strengthening exercises for your hips, where you're lying down and you're doing kicks up and you're doing kicks out to the side and you're doing kicks behind you. And those exercises are good for strengthening, but these are much more effective for you, especially if you want to get better at those everyday life things, like getting up and down from the stairs, getting up and down from a low surface, getting up and down off the floor. These are going to be much more effective for you. And then I wanted to highlight another one of our members. Elise is on here with us. I love to shout out some of our members who, started out with knee pain or didn't think they could exercise or those kind of things. Elise was actually very active, very active person, but she did have some knee pain in her knees. And so we have just seen her with much more range of motion in her exercises. She's able to do so much more. She's recently celebrated 150 workouts with us, and she's had less pain. I'm not saying that these people have, magical sparkle dust on them and we've cured them forever. No, they, I'm sure they still have knee pain here and there and things do still bother them. But the amount of progress that we have seen has been really amazing. Even just this week, I saw Elise doing some jumping and different things in the workout and getting really much lower in her squats. And so definitely some great improvements with her exercises with us. So I love to give a little shout out to some of our members who are really doing amazing and just showing you that it's absolutely possible. It's absolutely possible to build good strength and get rid of your knee pain. And then we're going to go into some knee-friendly positioning. So it's important to think about different positions to help take away pain in your knees. So when you're sitting, you want to avoid crossing your legs. It's a very common habit, and I constantly have to remind myself to come out of that habit. But you want to avoid crossing your legs. It does put a little bit of extra strain and pressure on your knees. If you're sitting, you don't want to sit for too long also, because as we mentioned, that starts to get those synovial fluids kind of locked up and making our joints feel much stiffer. So here's your reminder: if you've been sitting this whole time, add in some of those heel slide exercises that Erica showed you. Maybe stand up and do some weight shifting, do some butt kickers, get your body moving. If you're sitting and you're driving, try not to put yourself too close to the steering wheel. I find people tell me that they get very, very stiff after a long drive. Number one, take a few breaks if you can, add in some heel slides on your other leg if you can, and try not to put yourself too close to the steering wheel. When you're standing, you can always get into, a lot of people complain of stiffness and pain in their joints when they are standing, especially if they're standing still for quite some time or on a harder surface. So something like a cement surface is going to give you a lot more pain. So first things first, you want to make sure you've got a good supportive shoe wear with something with a little extra cushion if you are having to stand maybe for your job on one of those harder surfaces. You can also get in through some of those mobility exercises that Erica was showing you, where you're going to get in through the weight shifting side and side, or doing some of your hip circles around, or adding some of those butt kickers. But you can also change up your position in the way you're standing by just staggering your stance. So splitting your stance. So keeping your nice tall posture, but just splitting it so one foot is slightly ahead of the other. You're still on your own train track. They're still on their own path, but you're splitting that stance and then maybe switching it this way. I see a lot of people kind of sit into one hip and then sit into the other hip. Much better if we can kind of stagger our stance one way and then stagger our stance the other way, but keeping a nice neutral hip, a nice neutral core, rather than kind of sitting into that one side. Another option is to, if you're standing still for a while, this one's good if you're at like the kitchen sink and you need a change, you can open up that cabinet door and put your foot up on that lower cabinet for a little, taking some pressure off of one side, and then switching it over and bringing your foot up onto the other side. Same option if you happen to be somewhere where there's a stair, you can put your foot up on one curb or stair and take a little pressure off, and then switch sides by going onto the other one. When you're sleeping, it's a great idea to keep a nice neutral hip position, a nice neutral spine position, and doing so, a lot of people sleep on their side. So if you can put a nice firm, a nice good size pillow between your knees when you are sleeping on your side, it will help to take the pressure off your knees, help to keep your hips in a nice neutral alignment, help to keep your spine in a nice neutral alignment, and take some pressure off. A lot of people tell me, well, I toss and turn in my sleep. You will have it there for a good amount of time, even if it ends up on the floor later on. Don't worry about it. You started out in a good position. I am one of those toss and turners. And then you want to make sure that you are wearing supportive shoes. It's very, very important to wear supportive shoes. It can take a lot of pressure off of your joints and help to keep your foot in a good position. Because as we've been demonstrating throughout this entire workshop, our joints never work in isolation, right? They work in wherever our foot is aligned, wherever our ankle is aligned. It's going to affect the way our knee is aligned, right? So if we don't have good foot and ankle support, then our knee might come in or our knee might come out, depending on the alignment of our foot positioning. So it's a great idea to have shoes that have good arch support. When you're looking for a sneaker, I always tell people, or a shoe in general, I always tell people, take the shoe. So my shoe's around here like this. I'm holding the front and the back. Try to squeeze the back. If you can squeeze and fold up the back of the shoe, then it doesn't have enough support. Can you fold the shoe in half? If you can fold it all the way in half, it doesn't have enough arch support. If you can twist it like this, it doesn't have enough arch support. So that's your test when you're checking out a shoe is, can I like squeeze the back? Can I twist it? Can I fold it in half? Think about like those ballet flat kind of shoes that you could just fold all the way up. Not supportive, right? That's your extreme from the other end. And then when you're checking out your shoes, a lot of people enjoy the brand Hoka as a good walking shoe. It has a little extra support, a little extra cushion if you're looking for a good walking shoe. And a good other option is Brooks. So those are two good brands that I recommend, and I'm not affiliated whatsoever. So Erica is going to take it over here as we talk about listening to our body.
So
Oops,
for
sorry.
those of so for those of you that take classes, you always hear we start the classes and we say no pain, no gain has no place here. I cannot stress this enough. If we start doing anything and we start to feel that bad pain, this is where we need to think about backing down the weights that we're using, backing down our range of motion, or backing down the speed that we're doing it. If these things don't work for you, then it's time to look at doing something else. As we reach this midlife, we're worried that it's not going to take us through the whole lifetime. One of the things I hear from so many of our members is, I want to be 80 and still being able to do stuff. I want to be, in my mid 80s and be able to go gardening, chase after the grandkids. And we have, in their 70s that are climbing mountains now. So one of the things that we need to think about, number one, is intensity. So keeping in mind, Monday, you might have a full gas tank. Come Thursday afternoon and you're coming in for your workout and you're running on a quarter tank. Listen to what your body is telling you that you have. It changes day by day, but we really want to think about pressing those comfort zones, but never pushing those safety zones. Our body is going to constantly be giving us feedback. Are we feeling the bad pain? Are we feeling a super fatigue? So this is what we just have to listen to, whatever messages our body is sending us throughout our workouts, throughout our days, right? It can be as simple as you're going for a walk in the grocery store. I know I had this experience last week on Sunday. We went for a walk and went to the grocery store, and I was absolutely exhausted. I know why, because I didn't fuel my body enough, and I had to stop and sit down for a few minutes and give myself a check. So now we need to understand the difference between a good pain versus a bad pain. A good pain is when we have that muscle burn. We are reaching the end of our session and holy smokes, this last set, it's really challenging. I've got a good burn. That's a good pain versus holy smokes, I did this. I've got a sharp pain. Something that's going more into the joint versus being a muscular situation. Excuse me. And when we're thinking about the weights that we should be using, I think Aubrey had touched on this earlier. When we are reaching the end of our set, we should feel fatigued. We should feel like, holy smokes, this is some work. If we are just blasting through all of those overhead presses and it's easy, well, it's time that we increase the weight. But I mean, you'll see me doing the class and I'm doing them consistently and I keep my weights down. Why? Because I have to teach multiple classes in a week. And if I don't keep those weights down, I'm not going to be any good. But when I get in and I'm doing my own practice, you bet your bottom dollar, I am pushing those weights heavier and harder. So when we start thinking about the popping and the cracking, so this is, so the popping and the cracking. So quite often what'll happen is initially when we get started moving, we start to hear a little bit of that. And usually after we've done a bit of a warm up, that's going to dissipate. Same thing. If we start moving and it's, our first few motions, it feels stiff, it feels uncomfortable. But after we've done our bit of a warm up, okay, things are moving better and I don't feel that. That's okay. The popping and the cracking, we really need to pay attention. Am I feeling pain? Pain is going to be our alarm here. Pain is going to be our navigator. If you're hearing the popping and the cracking and you're feeling the pain, then yeah, we need to look at this. We need to find out what it is that's going on. But we also have a situation where we can end up with gases that kind of build up. I've been experiencing this for the last week or so, where I'm walking up the stairs and every time I take a step, I've got this creakety creak, no pain or anything like that. So I can keep going. That's a norm. It's called crepitus. Crepitus, that's the word for it. So that's just the thing to keep in mind. Pain is going to be our navigator. Is it a sharp pain? Is it causing me trouble? Or is this just the normal discomfort? Because when we have osteoarthritis or other things going on, sometimes those first few movements, yeah, it's not going to be the most comfortable, but once we get moving, things start to feel better. If it alleviates after a few movements, then we know that we're on the right track. But if it's still going on or we're feeling those sharp pains, then it is time for us to adjust, modify, and or speak to a medical professional. We always say, reach out, like our members, talk to me. If I don't have the answers, I always get Aubrey involved so she can touch base with you because she has more of a physio background than I do. And we'll always have a better thing to do for you. I know we had one of our members, she was having some real trouble with her knee. I hopped on, did a 5-minute talk with her and gave her a little self-massage technique. And she was like, holy smokes. You know, the next week she was back at it and everything was fine. I can't fix you, but I might have a few tools that will help you along the way. If we don't listen to our body, we're going to have that consistent pain. We're going to be fatigued. We're going to lose our motivation, possibly end up injured, give up on ourselves and those goals. So this is why it's super important to respect that day by day, it's going to change. When we are listening to our body, then we're going to continue to steadily progress. We're going to be able to increase those weights. We're going to be able to increase that range of motion. Our energy levels are coming up. We have those small and steady wins. Remembering, you might have a goal of running a marathon, but we need to get you walking around the block first. So thinking about walking around the block is that first win and then doing it twice. Obviously, want to think more in terms of strength, but that's the starting point. So the more we listen, we're going to have better muscle tone, muscle strength. We're going to put on that muscle, which is key. We're going to have less of a chance of being injured. And of course, it's going to keep feeding that motivation. It's going to keep you consistently coming back and showing up for you, because that's what this is about. It's about showing up for you, for loving your body. They have carried us through decades, through heartache, through good times. And it's time that we really show it the love that we need to. And again, this is through being gentle and listening to the feedback that it gives. Might not like the movement today, but in 2 weeks, 3 weeks time, you might be breezing through it. So this is another really big part here, fueling our bodies. So for those of you that have me on social media, you see me posting this, what I eat in a day. And it's super important that we reduce those sugars, those added sugars, those fatty foods, too much dairy and alcohol. These are all things that when we put into our body, it's going to increase the inflammation. Especially alcohol and especially those sugars and those deep fried foods. We need good fats in our body, but definitely need to be wary of what fats that we are putting in. When we are fueling up, we've got the lean protein, we've got those fruits, the veggies, and those complex carbs. Our bodies love it. They take it, they nourish us, they fuel us, and they keep us moving. We also need to think about staying hydrated. Everybody that takes our classes knows I always have my gallon jug on hand, and I will go through one of these in a day, especially when I have a 3 to 4 class day, because we need to stay hydrated. That's what keeps our muscles supple. It's what keeps our joints moving. So much of our body is made up with water, and if we keep depriving it, then it's going to become more and more challenging for us to be able to move properly. Now, the other thing that we need to think about is food sensitivities. Now, I used to love bell peppers. I ate them every day, or pretty much every day, and eggplant. Absolutely love eggplant. And I didn't pay attention to the fact that my mouth would itch when I would eat it, but I loved it. And then over the last few years, the last 5 years, 6 years, holy smokes, time flies. I've put together that if I eat eggplant within 15 minutes, every joint in my body aches. I have a sensitivity and an allergy to it. Bell peppers is the same thing, but not to the same degree. So those are the nightshades. And I even find if I eat white potatoes quite often, that will also, it'll upset my tummy. So just pay attention. If you have been eating really well and then you go through and you have something that's a little bit out of the norm, and then all of a sudden, holy smokes, I'm getting really achy, or if you find one day after the other you are more achy, pay attention to what it was that you were eating, because you might have a food sensitivity that's going to increase the inflammation in your body, and in turn give your joints a run for their money, so to speak. So you don't need to starve yourself. You don't need to live on chicken and broccoli for the rest of your life. You'll notice if you check out the Facebook group that we have, there are so many amazing, tasty recipes. They're easy to adapt if you have any of those food sensitivities. You know, there's all kinds of flavorful things that we can put into our bodies that are going to nourish us. Those fad diets, it's just going to deprive you. You're not going to be happy on them. And in turn, you know, you might lose right off the hop, but then you're going to end up putting it back on later on. So just pay attention to what it is that your body needs, those lean proteins, fruits, vegetables, those complex carbs rather. And when we get those right nutrients in, our bodies are going to feel good. Our digestion is going to run really well. So the Mediterranean diet, 1,000 times I hear this, and it absolutely is. It's so good for the brain health, for the weight management, for the longevity, for the healthy joints, and for keeping those muscles moving by that nice steady protein, good healthy proteins in that.
Sorry. So quickly, just some supplements that are good for your healthy knees. Collagen is a great supplement that's great for your body and your joints. Bone broth is a excellent form of getting some great collagen and some good healthy joints into your healthy nutrients into your joints. Glucosamine, omega-3s, and extra protein is always good to help build muscle and help protect your joints. You always want to check in with your doctor or your healthcare provider before adding in a supplement, but these are the top supplements that will help you with joint pain. I'll just quickly wrap this section up. If you focus on fueling your body, you'll have more energy for workouts and life. You're going to have improved muscle tone and strength, which will lead to less aches and pains, and it will help to keep weight staying off much easier. We have a few secret pain zapping weapons that we love to use that we're going to share with you here. I'm going to stop my share and get Erica spotlighted. Are you spotlighted, Erica? Nope. There we go. There we go.
Oh, I'll just bring this up a touch here. So for those of you that take my classes, you have heard me talk about this product 1,001 times. It's called Motion Medicine. It is a Canadian product. I know that you can purchase it on Amazon. It has a muscle relaxer, a circulation enhancer, an anti-inflammatory. The bonus is in the US, it doesn't have the wintergreen, which has a anticoagulant factor. So you don't have to worry about this if you are on blood thinners. However, if you purchase it on my side of the border, it does have that. So be aware that purchasing it in Canada, you don't want to be using it consistently if you are on blood thinners. But I have literally been teaching a class, nearly sprained my ankle, put this on, and been able to finish teaching my class. My ex-boyfriend broke his foot. We put this on and he had 0 bruising. This is the bee's knees, and I could not function the way that I do without this stuff. It is absolutely amazing. It's called Motion Medicine, and I believe that Aubrey has a link to it in the resource that is coming. So the other thing here is we are going to talk about a lacrosse ball. Now, you can use a tennis ball. The reason why a lacrosse ball is even better is because of the density of it. So this here is a go ball on the rope. I believe that Aubrey was able to find a link to this or something similar that would be purchased on Amazon. But I really love this, and you can even make one yourself. Take an old pair of pantyhose, drop your tennis ball or lacrosse ball in, and see from here, I can put this up against my back and back myself up against a wall. Now for this one here, what I would do, because we're talking specifically about knees, is I would think about hanging it over The great part about this is there's no go-go gadget to get it in place. And then you can back yourself up against the wall, and then you can rub yourself around on it. You can find that tight spot. See, this is the thing, right? You are going to start to play around with this. Where I am tight and you are tight might be totally different. So you get that in there, you start rolling around, and you're like, you're going to know the spot because it is going to talk to you. And then you're just going to kind of sink into it, breathe into it for a few moments, do a little bit of a back and forth, and the density of the ball is going to start to massage out those little knots, those tight spots for you. So thinking about using it on your glutes, so being your bum. Again, play around, find the right spot. I could do this for hours, but be mindful as well. Play with it for a few minutes, leave it alone, and then you might come back to it later on that day or the next day, because there is such a thing as too good of a thing. I've used the AccuBall. I was at my friend's place first time using it. I played around on it for a couple hours and I had a really bad sciatic flare up. So just be mindful. The other thing too is the IT band, which runs down the outside of the thigh here. So again, you can kind of relax into it, rubbing it back and forth, drop it down a little bit lower. By holding on here, you've got a great control for your positioning. And you can also come onto the floor. I use this on my calf and on my feet all the time, placing it underneath your calf. And then you can just kind of roll around. Again, you're going to find those spots because your leg, wherever it is that's bothering you, it is really going to stick. It's going to tell you where it's not happy. And then you just relax into it for a bit, breathe into it, and then do a little bit of a back and forth to work it out, and then move on to the next spot. And again, you can also use this under your feet. Quite often I'll do it. I'll roll this around for about 30 seconds, then go to this one for 30 seconds, and then go on to the other foot. So again, we're focusing on the muscles that are pulling on that knee joint to find the spot that's going to give us some trouble. And from here, we're also going to look at a foam roller. So these are available in various densities. So it's a matter of kind of feeling out what it is that you want for yourself and where you are at. So this one here, again, if we're looking at the glute, I like to have one hand down, and then from here, you can just rock back and forth. You're going to find the spot that's giving you that trouble, and then rock a little bit back and forth, and then you can do a little bit of a longer. You just want to make sure that you don't go directly over the joint. So I wouldn't be like right up on the side there. But you just want to find that muscle. So again, here I'm on the glute. Maybe I'm going to roll over to the side here, thinking about being supported, right? So my hands are supported and this leg here is supported. And sometimes it's a case of even using a chair or something like that that's going to help keep you in that good position. And again, you can also do it on the calf. So with this one here, when you want to get that little bit more density, placing the other leg over top, gets that little bit more pressure. And then you can think about lifting and shifting your cheeks. Again, it's all dependent on where you are at. And we want to push those comfort zones, but we're not going to push those safety zones. So just pay attention to the messages that your body is giving you in this. So we've gone over the ball on the rope, the roller, and the cream. And there's a few that Aubrey has that's an absolute lover. And she has a massage gun, which I don't have mine here, but it is a tool that I cannot live without either.
So just a quick note, this is just an example of a massage gun. It's just like this, and it has little ends that you can add to it. It has like a ball, it has one that's a little bit more of like, looks like a prong, and you're just simply pressing the button and then rubbing it against your area of tightness. So some of the common areas of tightness we talked about with those stretches are the quads in the front, specifically down closer towards your knee. That can be a tight area. The IT band that runs along the side, that could be a tight area and put a lot of pressure on our knees. So you can work on massaging or stretching those areas. And then straight in the center of our glutes can sometimes be a tight spot where we're talking about that piriformis muscle that runs across like a line across the center of our tush. So the quads, the calves in the back, the outer side IT band, sorry, and the band in the back, that piriformis muscle, are the good areas to work on when you're using these tools. So whether it be the lacrosse ball, whether it be a massage roller, a foam roller, whatever works, massage gun, all of those areas are the ones that you want to focus on. Crystal says she bought a hand roller and sometimes uses that. Yes. So sometimes if you're not ready to get down on the floor and kind of work through those positions that are a little bit more intense stretches, you could use one of those hand rollers, and I have a link to that in the resource guide, or the tennis ball or lacrosse ball against the wall is much easier if you're not ready to get down onto the floor and get into those positions.
Also a rolling pin. I've known people
Yeah.
that have used just a rolling pin.
Yes, the rolling pin works as well. Yep. Gotta move you guys one more time. Whoops, sorry. Oh, go. There we go. There we go. So these are our secret pain zapping weapons. Am I sharing my screen? You can see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so the last tip we have for you is making sure that you stay motivated and you stay consistent. So many times people tell me that they're unable to stay motivated. They think they're the only person on the planet that struggles with motivation, and it's absolutely not true. So many of us struggle with motivation. Even myself struggles with motivation sometimes. I'm sure Erica does as well. It's an absolutely human thing to go up and down with your motivation. It's totally normal, but it absolutely helps when you have a coach and a mentor in your corner, somebody who can walk you through, keep you motivated, celebrate your wins, give you the right technique, the right exercises, and the right movements for your body. Somebody that's not going to push you to extremes, but kind of expect you and look out for you on a schedule, so that you are getting into that consistent routine that's going to help you to reach your goals. A good mentor will help navigate your path, offer guidance and strategy, take the guesswork out of the process, and keep you accountable and motivated. And a great mentor brings together a group of people with similar struggles and helps multiply everybody's success. That's what we do with our programs at Vitality Fitness. If you try to go at it alone, you might spend needless time guessing about how to get the right results. I've heard people who are randomly Googling exercises on YouTube or have gone into a personal trainer or an exercise program that's too intense or too much for them. You could lose money on programs that don't get you results. You might give up on your dreams. I've heard of people who, just put their health aside for years and years because they had a bad experience with maybe an inexperienced young personal trainer who was too busy looking at themselves in the mirror or pushing you too hard to where you feel like you're gonna die. That's absolutely not us and our team. We really care about every single one of our members. We take the time to guide each of our members so that they have the right movements for their body and help to celebrate you along the way and keep you motivated. If you lose it, we're there for you saying, hey, where are you? What's going on? Everything okay? And our members know that. They can vouch for us. So with a coach in your corner, you'll have quicker results, more consistent progress, a higher success rate, less pain and setbacks, and a community and a team of coaches in your corner. It's amazing to see the success. So today, just to wrap things up here, we promised we were going to show you the exact steps to help reduce pain, tightness, and soreness, improve your flexibility naturally to allow you to enjoy life's adventures without aches and pains. What you need to succeed, just to recap, you want to make sure you're always listening to your body, listening in when it gives you that signal to move a little bit, listen in when it gives you the signal that it's not the right movement for your body, listen to your body. You have the right mobility movements that you need to get in some good, more mobility and flexibility. You have some great strengthening exercises that are going to help build stability and take pressure off your joints. And you have understood the happy body positioning that can take pressure off your joints. And you know that it's important to stay consistent and motivated, and that's when you're going to see the success. So if you implement these steps, you're going to have more confidence in your body. You might feel better about yourself doing activities. We've seen so many of our members who love to travel, who are now able to climb the mountains, see the sights, instead of waiting for everyone else to do it and them being left behind. We've really seen our members make amazing progress, and I know that you can do so as well. How we can support you. So we said that we would offer you an opportunity here at the end to support you. We do have a resource guide, which I'm going to put in the chat, that you can download, that has some of the links to the things that we mentioned today. It has some resistance bands that will give you a good option to add into your strengthening. It has some of the supplements that we talked about, and it has some of the pain zapping tools that we talked about. So I'm going to put that in the chat. Let's see. Let me get to my files. There it is. All right, it's coming your way in the chat, so be sure that you download that. We also would love to offer you the opportunity to hop on a complimentary call with us. We'd love to get on a call with you and help you to understand the right movements for your body, help to give you a plan to help you feel stronger and healthier with your knees. On this complimentary call, we'll review your goals. We'll talk a little bit more about your health history. We'll talk about what's a struggle for you, what's going right, what's going wrong for you, and we'll give you a good plan. We'll give you some good exercises. We'll give you a good plan to help you feel stronger and healthier with your knees. If it feels like a good fit, we may also offer you a complimentary pass into our programs. We have our next 12-week program starting up on April 3rd, and registration is now open for that program. So if you know somebody or you feel like you'd be a great fit for working out with us, we would love to have you. Our programs are for women and men over 55. Most of our clients are 55 to 74. We don't work with 20-year-olds. We take the same group of people who have similar goals, similar struggles, and it works amazingly. You know that now is the time for you to take action. We don't want to have to email you 100 times to decide if you want to work out. If you're ready to do this, we'd love to support you. If you're going to, we love to work with you if you're going to show up with the same energy that we do. We don't like to work with grumpy Gusses who don't understand that the information we're giving them is the best information for their body. We're going to work with you to find the right movements, but we want to make sure that you're taking our advice and our guidance through our programs. Our program is not for you if you're a grumpy Gus, if you're looking for a magic wand, a quick fix, and you don't have time for a few 45-minute workouts a week. The reason we're doing this is because we want you to be strong, healthy, happy. We want you to feel more confident in through your body. We want you to be able to do all the things that you want to do in life. And we have absolutely helped hundreds of men and women over 50 to feel stronger and feel better in through their body. And so we'd love for that to be you as well. So if you allow us to support you, we're going to walk you through the exact steps that we have done to help people to feel better. In the first few weeks alone, you'll have more energy. You're going to develop a manageable routine. You're not going to be spending hours and hours and hours exercising. You'll have less aches and pains, and you may even notice your clothes are fitting better. So here is your invitation. I'm going to drop a little note in the chat here. I'm going to stop my share and drop a little note in the chat, and I'm going to welcome questions at this point. But if you'd like to book a complimentary call with me, you can use this link that I'm dropping in the chat. Be sure to check out the knee resource guide that we put there in the chat. And now we would love to welcome any questions that you might have for us. You can drop them in the chat, or if you want to unmute or raise your hand, just let me know. Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that, Louise. Crystal, you have a question?
I
Oh,
do.
there you are. Good.
Can Erica show the figure for laying on the floor, that exercise?
Yeah.
There we go. Out comes the mat. So when we come to laying on the floor here, we want to think about setting ourselves up in that similar position that we would for our bridge. So my feet are flat, my tummy is relaxed into the floor. Then we come and we pull our leg across. So again, there's no pressure on the ankle, there's no pressure on that knee. We just think again about dropping those hips and lifting those ribs. So creating space between those two, because quite often what happens is we start to sink in. So relaxing. Now from here, we can pull across, keeping the cheek down. We can pull across and get a stretch in here, or you can scoop through. And sometimes what you want to do is even use a strap or a band. If getting your hands on the back of that thigh is troublesome, you can put, I don't have, 1 second. I do have a band handy. So from here, then what I can do is I can grab a hold here. Now thinking about a gentle bit of pressure on that thigh and then pulling forward. Now the key here is to think about keeping your cheeks down on the floor, because sometimes we can do this and we just want to pull our knees right to our chest. Keep the hips relaxed down, cheeks to the floor, and then pulling forward. Again, being mindful of going to a 4 out of 10 on our discomfort scale. Was that the only one that you wanted demonstrated, Crystal?
Yep, that was perfect, because that's the one that I use a lot, you know, do that one on the floor. You know, I do both. I do chair and I do the floor, but what you just demonstrated is might be a little bit easier for people to do
No, you're
than
absolutely
sitting in the
right.
chair. And they can do it on their bed or whatever, you know.
No,
But
absolutely.
I like the floor one too. Both. I like both. But
I did mention it. However, I brain farted and didn't demo it. And for that, I do apologize.
okay. You're
Good
good.
question. Good question. Anybody have any other questions? You can drop them in the chat. You can unmute and let us know. We'd love to answer your questions.
You can also do the hamstring one this way as well. The heel down, toes up, driving the heel up and
Putting the strap at the bottom of your foot and pulling your leg backwards too. That's a good one. Yep.
Again, keeping that hip down.
Yep.
And because my muscles are not warm, doing that in and out of, as opposed to
Right.
just that static hold.
Right. Exactly.
Anybody have any other questions? No? Well, I hope you got the link there. Oh, Molly, you have a question?
I have one question. When I'm in a lunge with my knees bent or in a deeper squat, sometimes my knees do this kind of like, it feels like they're kind of like rubbing on each other, or it's not exactly a popping or a grinding, but it's this very weird, like, I don't even know quite how to describe it. Doesn't exactly hurt, but it's not, it kind of makes me
not perfectly comfortable. Yeah. So Molly, you do have a bit of arthritis in your knees, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So Molly has a bit of arthritis in her knees. It is normal when you have arthritis in your knees to feel kind of like a bit of a creaky feeling. I always call it kind of a creaky feeling. It feels like a little bit of kind of like a scraping, maybe. It is a little bit of that bone on bone situation going on there, right? So if you're feeling it intensely and it kind of adds a pain, you want to kind of lessen your range of motion and go through a lower range, a little bit less of your range of motion. If it's not super painful, you can kind of work through it and see if a few reps, does it kind of ease up a little bit? Or if not, then maybe kind of limiting that range of motion a little bit more.
Yeah, it seems to mostly be happening when I'm trying to hold
Oh yes, yeah. It will be more often if you're, if you're holding
like a styrofoam,
that position.
like
Yeah. Yeah. So like today in our yoga, when we did like the chair pose, like
Yeah.
that could put a bit of pressure. You want to make sure that you're sitting back into your heels and that you're sitting back into your hips instead of any forward pressure on your knees. Then it's going to feel a little bit more so like that, right? So that's just an example. But when you're kind of holding one position, you want to get a little bit more weight in through your heels and a little bit more weight in through your hips, kind of sitting backwards a little bit more to take pressure off the knees.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? No? Oh, that was just a clap. Thank you. Um, anyway, it was lovely joining you guys today. I hope you've got the resources here. We have that healthy knee resource list here that has those helpful items that we talked about in the chat. We also have a link for a free call with me if you would like to kind of check in and get a bit more of a personalized plan for your knees and for your health. I would love to check in with you. I hope that you guys found this helpful. I hope that you got a lot of great information and you know the right movements and the right exercises and the great lifestyle tips that will help you to feel stronger. So it's good to see you all. We really appreciate you spending your afternoon with us. And we hope you guys have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Toby. I like your hair down.
I know you never get to see it this way.
Thank you, ladies, for a wonderful, wonderful Zoom. Loved it.
Oh,
Thank you, Crystal. It's good to see you. Good to see everyone who's popping in there in the chat. Thanks so much. We appreciate you spending your time with us.
I'll see you tomorrow, Erica.
yes, you will, bright and early.
That's it. Enjoy the rest of your day.
It's
Excellent.
a snow blizzard outside. Fingers crossed, Sheila's brush, the last storm of the year. Please, please.
Warm here today. We're almost 60 degrees here today.
I know. Tomorrow's going to be nice too.
Yeah.
I feel
All
like the
right,
dog that peed on
girls.
the carpet.
All right. Take
See
care.
you.
Bye.
Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Just
So
waiting to see. One left.
yeah.
There we
So
go.
only problem is, when did it stop recording?
Oh, did it stop? No,
I
it's still
just-
recording.
Is it? Oh, phew. There we go. I couldn't